Welcome to Howard's Flippin' History, where today we're going to talk about the War of 1812, specifically the causes of the war. Now, when Jefferson left office, he left a bundle of problems. There was a war between Britain and France that eventually will turn into the Napoleonic Wars. We have American shipping being seized by the British and the French, and we also have our sailors being impressed by both the French and the British navies. It is estimated that between 1808 and 1811, over 6,000 Americans were impressed by the British. This is an illustration that shows impressment as one of the causes of the War of 1812. Also during the Jefferson administration, we have the Chesapeake Leopard Affair of 1807, in which a British ship, the Leopard, fires on a U.S. ship, the Chesapeake. The attack ends up killing 3 Americans. The British board the ship, impress some of our sailors, and once again this stirs up public debate about going to war with Great Britain. Not everyone, however, is excited about going to war. You'll have to remember that the New England states made their money from shipping and trade. They actually had been using the war between France and Great Britain to benefit their businesses because they were trading with both sides. And didn't exactly make Jefferson happy because when those ships were out on the open seas, there was a greater likelihood that they would be attacked as a combatant by either French or the British. So Jefferson says if you're not out there trading, you can't get attacked. So he passes what was called the Embargo Act of 1807. Now, New England not exactly excited about this. It hurts the U.S. more than it does hurt France and Great Britain. Jefferson leaves office in 1808 when James Madison wins the presidency, and now it's Madison's problem. So they passed the Non-Intercourse Act in 1809, which bans trade with only Britain and France. This is a little bit more popular than the Embargo Act had been, but still there's a big problem with American shipping and trade, and we're getting angrier and angrier with the British. Here you see a famous political cartoon from the time. This was aimed at attacking the New England states who were supposedly smuggling provisions to British troops. Now, the presidential election of 1808 was won by James Madison, who was a Democratic Republican. The Federalists have their power in the Northeast or New England states, and pretty much everywhere else the Democratic Republicans succeed. Now, James Madison becomes president. And for most intents and purposes, he's not the usual choice to be president during a war. It's rather bookish, quiet. His wife Dolly, on the other hand, is extremely outgoing and is said to be the president's greatest asset politically. While Dolly, his wife, was a bright spot, there were many things that caused problems in James Madison's first administration. Among these was the British continuance of aiding the Native Americans. The British, under General Isaac Brock, had actually formed an alliance with the Shawnee war chief Tecumseh or Tecumseh. Now, Tecumseh was unique in that he attempted to unify not the Shawnee, but all Native American tribes to fight against the whites, also known as the Long Knives. In his struggle for unity, he was aided by his brother, the prophet, Tenskwatawa. Tenskwatawa was said to be able to foretell the future, and Tecumseh used his visions in an attempt to convince other Native Americans that the whites could be beaten. Tecumseh was honored and revered by the British. General Isaac Brock thought very highly of him. And he is in a survival struggle to attempt to keep Native American lands. The Shawnee had not originally lived in the area of the Great Lakes. They had been pushed there as they lost land further east. Tecumseh's dreams of unity are realized in 1808 when many groups, not only Shawnee, build a town called Prophetstown in what is present-day Indiana. Now, to the Native Americans, this was progress. To the settlers who lived in Indiana, this was perceived as an act of war. And in 1811, William Henry Harrison, then governor of the territory of Indiana, is sent to a place called Tippecanoe. A battle ensues. Tecumseh is not present at the battle. He was actually further south organizing the Confederacy. His brother Tenskwatawa is, however, there. And even though it's unclear, General William Henry Harrison does perceive it as a major victory, and Prophetstown is burned. And to the United States, it's seen as a win. The Battle of Thames is actually where Tecumseh will fall. He will lose his life in 1813, but he is remembered by many as a great leader. William Henry Harrison, his opponent, said of him that he was one of those uncommon geniuses who spring up occasionally to produce revolutions and overturn the established order of things. If it were not for the vicinity of the U.S., he would perhaps be the founder of an empire that would rival in glory that of Mexico. So even his adversary, William Henry Harrison, had great respect for Tecumseh. Now, at the same time that the Native Americans are duking it out for the Ohio Valley, we have a faction growing up in the United States called the Warhawks. This is led by Henry Clay from Kentucky and John C. Calhoun from South Carolina. Both these men believe that we should declare war on Great Britain. They believe that Great Britain has insulted us with the Chesapeake Leopard affair, the impressment of our sailors, the stealing of our ships, and that it is only in due course that we go to war. Calhoun and Clay say there are 4 reasons that they want us to go to war against Great Britain. The first is nationalism. We owe it to our country to be prideful and to not allow Great Britain to basically embarrass us. Also, revenge for attacks on American shipping and the impressment of American sailors. Thirdly, were we to attack Canada and take it from Great Britain, Florida and take it from Spain, we could expand the United States, giving us more room for settlement. Also, Native Americans have been given guns by the British, and we need revenge for those Native American attacks. In 1812, President Madison wins re-election, largely because it is seen that he will declare war on Great Britain, which he does. He's the first sitting president to ask for a declaration of war. You might say to yourself, why are we going to war against Great Britain and not France if France was doing the same thing? Well, on the balance scales, Great Britain has done more to us, in our opinion. Now, this War of 1812 becomes Mr. Madison's war. As I said earlier, he's really not someone you would think of as going to war. In fact, his opponents sometimes called him meanly Little Pygmy or Little Jemmy. Now, if you look closely at this slide, you will see that the Americans have a great deal of problem in going to war with the British. We're unprepared. We have no navy, and this is obviously going to be a war fought at sea. So given the fact that we were unprepared for war, why would we declare war on the most powerful country in the world? Just something to think about for our next discussion.